Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to our weekly current affairs program coming to you live on Lagos Television. I am Ajibola Ojeshola. This afternoon on the program, we are looking at something very, very critical, talking about the justification for the autonomy of local government in the 774 local government areas of the country. In Nigeria, there are three layers of government. We have the federal, we have the state, and the local government. And one of the achievements of the current administration under the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is granting autonomy to local governments in the 774 local government areas of the country. This was equally backed up by law as seen in that judgment from the Supreme Court in 2024. But beyond all of these judgments and the fact that Mr. President graciously granted local government autonomy, excuse me, the level of development that we have in our local government at the grassroots level, is it equal to the amount of monies that have been received by this local government? This will form the basis of our conversation on the program this afternoon. But before then, let's quickly bring you up to speed regarding what is happening between the government of Osun State and the EFCC. Yesterday, the news broke that the EFCC had frozen the account of the Osun State governor. But Mr. President, being a Democrat, had actually directed EFCC to unfrozen that particular account of the Osun State government. And I'm going to quote part of the statement released from the presidency earlier this afternoon. It has come to my notice that the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, obtained a court order on August 5, 2026, freezing the accounts of the Osun State government. I must state that I feel deeply embarrassed, not by the EFCC exercise of its mandate, backed by a court order, but by the timing of the agency's action. This is so because every action taken by an institution of the state, especially at the federal level, is always credited to me as the president, even when I may not have any prior knowledge of the action. Since assuming office, I've consistently maintained that anti-corruption and law enforcement agencies must be allowed to discharge their duties and responsibilities professionally without fear of favor or political interference. Those are some of the paragraphs of the statement released earlier today by Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, concerning that development in Osun State. Like I said earlier, the account of the Osun State government was frozen by the EFCC yesterday, but Mr. President had done the needful now, directing that agency of government to do the needful and create a level playing field for the Osun State government as we approach the August 15th gubernatorial election in Osun State. So that's the update on that. Nice one coming from Mr. President this afternoon. Once again, we'll be looking at the grassroots and the level of the development to justify the financial autonomy granted by the Supreme Court in 2024. We equate that with the quality of development and infrastructure that we have at the grassroots in Nigeria. But before we start our conversation this afternoon, we'll take a very short break to bring you some of the trending news in the polity. After that, you'll be meeting my guests on the program this afternoon. Stay with us. You're still watching our weekly current affairs program right here on Lagos Television. And before that break, I did say that we'll be looking at grassroots development as justification for financial autonomy. And I referenced the Supreme Court judgment of 2024, which granted the 774 local government areas of the country financial autonomy. We have joining us for this particular conversation the executive chairman of Odiolowo Ojuwe Local Council Development Area right here in Lagos. Seyi Jakande is right here in our studio. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, before we go to the major essence of being here today, I'm sure you had what happened between EFCC and the Osun State government yesterday, whereby the account of the state government was frozen. But this afternoon, Mr. President, in his magnanimity, has directed EFCC to vacate the court order freezing the Osun State government accounts. And, you know, at different platforms, people have commended Mr. President for taking this action in respective of the fact that the Osun State governor and Mr. President, they are not a member of the same political party. What's your own take on this directive of Mr. President?
I think Mr. President has acted very right, you know, and I believe he has only demonstrated that he's a true Democrat and that he believes in fairness, you know, and transparency.
All right. So in 2024, like I referenced, there was a Supreme Court judgment stating that local governments in Nigeria, 774 in number, should be granted financial autonomy. That, of course, was also supported by Mr. President. But then, I know you do interact with your colleagues at the level of Algon during meetings. What has changed 2 years after that particular judgment of the Supreme Court?
Well, thank you, Mr. Jibala. So, for also, once again, I appreciate Mr. President, you know, for taking that bold step, you know, and that is, of course, out of his belief and confidence that the local government in Nigeria must work, and that and if only when that happens that we can actually have, you know, a good development, you know, and that is, you know, development must come from the grassroots, you know, because that's where everybody feels it. That's where you reside, that's where you live, you know. And you see, the pressure that we actually place on the federal government in most times is quite unnecessary, because nobody lives in the federal government. People live in the local government, you know, and the people that are saddled with those responsibilities are the local government council, which is the third tier of government. So as regards the Supreme Court judgments, it's rather unfortunate, you know, that some states are yet to implement that decision of the Supreme Court. You know, but for us in Lagos State, I would say the process and the all of the legal process is not actually about Lagos, because Lagos has actually enjoyed, you know, the autonomy, you know, from day one. You know, you recall that Mr. President actually created more local governments while he was governor of Lagos State in 2003. You know, the 37 LCDs that we currently have now. You know, perhaps what Lagos needs is the enlisting of those LCDs as full local government. You know, but as regards the financial autonomy, I think Lagos has always have the funds released through the state government. Okay,
you know, it's a fact that most state government, local government now, they get more allocation from the federal government. And I know you have traveled far and wide at different locations of the country. Would you say that some local governments in some part of the country, they're actually reflecting that huge sum of money coming from the federal government to impact the people, looking at the quantum of development and infrastructure that we are seeing?
Well, I would only speak for Lagos State.
We'll still come to Lagos. I know what is happening in Lagos. We'll still come to Lagos, but I know you do interact with some of your other colleagues and you visit their states. So the quantum of development and infrastructural acceleration that we have there, is it commensurate with the huge sum of money coming from the federal government?
Well, just most of the complaints from other states, you know, because I can't put a measure with my colleagues in other states, because most of my colleagues in other states do not actually enjoy
the
autonomy resources. Most of them, and that is why Mr. President keeps amplifying the fact that these resources must go to the local government.
Okay, so if the resources start going to the local government directly, let's put Lagos aside now. What do you think will happen in terms of dividends of democracy at the grassroots level if local government chairmen start receiving their allocations directly, as stated in that judgment of the Supreme Court, and of course backed up by that statement of Mr. President?
So you see, the financial autonomy is in two legs, because I believe that when the funds start coming directly from the federal account to most of the local governments, it will also ease the burden of policy autonomy. You know, because when the funds come directly, then the local governments can actually activate all of the policies and regulations, you know, with their own legislative hand, which are the councillors. You know, unlike when the funds are passed through the states, you know. So there are two legs. So one is the financial autonomy and the other is the policy autonomy. For most of the other states, they still not have the benefit of the financial autonomy. We can, and that's why I always want to go to Lagos, but you keep dragging me back. You know, because you can only appreciate the development in Lagos, you know, to compare to other states. You know, and other states, you know, but people keep looking at those poor infrastructure developments and putting all the blames on the state governor or the federal government in some cases. You know, it shows that there's a big gap, you know, between the infrastructure development that's supposed to be in place at the local level. You know, all of the governmental functions that are not existing on the local government will definitely put all of the burden on the state. And if the governor of that state is not taking and doing his own responsibility, you know, people keep taking that back to the federal government.
Okay.
So the first financial autonomy, you know, for me, you know, is a must for development in Nigeria.
But then, looking at the Constitution of Nigeria, 1999 as amended, what are the core responsibilities of local government areas?
You see, the local government is just a replica of what we have in the states and the federal, you know, and they have the responsibility of their own jurisdiction. You know, within a certain local government, you know, you have the responsibility as the chief security officer of that base. You know, you are in charge of all of the infrastructure development of that area, you know, communal development to ensure there's peaceful coexistence, you know, among all of the religious organizations, religious bodies, you know, and of course to ensure the overall safety of that community, you know. So you can imagine, you know, where we have 774 local governments, and all of these 774 local governments are working efficiently and effectively. You know, we can only imagine that kind of result and what it will put on Nigeria in terms of development and infrastructure.
Okay, we cannot have this discussion without making reference to some of the things that have taken place in the past, how we tinkered with the Constitution of Nigeria to accommodate the autonomy of local government. We'll be having our soundbite for now to listen to some of those lawmakers at the National Assembly and what they had to say then concerning the autonomy of local government before that judgment of the Supreme Court.
We must advocate for greater financial autonomy for local governments, ensuring that they receive adequate funding directly, federal allocations, without excessive state control.
I will not accept that in the name of autonomy, money arrive at the local government headquarters, they meet under the tree, share the money, and at the end of the day, primary school teachers are not paid.
Today, the economy of operation is high. the money that I'm pushing to the states, if you had it during your own time or during my time, it would have been different. They are taking 4 to 5 times their money. The past. Nobody is borrowing money to pay salaries now. Pensioners are receiving their pay and gratuity. And they should do more to, instead of fly over where there's no numeric traffic, build the roads and arteries network to really enhance the quality of life and the accessibility of the security agencies to penetrate those areas.
We still have in the studio with us this afternoon the Executive Chairman of Odiolo-Ojuwe Local Council Development Area, speaking on the justification of financial autonomy for accelerated development in the 774 local government areas of the country. And you did see, Mr. President, justifying the need for autonomy now that state and local government are getting more monies. Likewise, Senator Adams Oshiomhole, as well as the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Right Honorable Benjamin Kalu, all justifying the need for us to have full financial autonomy for local government in Nigeria. What do you have to say to some of those comments coming from those stakeholders?
Well, I think the only one I need to make a comment about is that of Senator Adams Oshiomhole. Because I don't think in his, the clips that you actually showed, I don't see that he justified. He actually made a statement against, saying that, you don't give the local government the autonomy, and then when the money gets there, they just share it among themselves. According to that statement, yes, the one you just played, that might not speak to his overall position in terms of autonomy. But for me, that is the beauty of democracy. I believe that people, position of a chairman, leadership of a community, comes with his own responsibility, and people needs to be assessed, and judged, by that full potentials of that office, so it will help us to depart from the past, when people will campaign for re-election, and start telling stories how they were not being funded. And that's why they cannot actually accomplish all of their electoral promises. So that gives them that window of excuse, to say the reason why we couldn't complete all of these promises to you at that time was because I didn't get the money from Mr. Governor, But this time, now there's autonomy, now we can, so that closes that window if the autonomy is released, and so forth. Our assessment, therefore, will now be based on all of the years you spent with all of the full potentials, and we can put a measure to it, and people can make decision whether to re-elect you or to take you out of the system.
So let's come back home now. What's the template for development in the 20 local government and 37 LCDAs of Lagos State? And what were the mandates that were given to local government chairmen by the party leadership in Lagos State?
Well, the mandate
it's
is
over a year that some of you have been in office now.
Yes, about a year now. So, and the mandate for the All Progressive Congress Party is very simple. That we have a template of success for us to key in on the already existing template of the party, but of course for individuals, people have also campaigned on their
on the needs of their areas,
on the different peculiarities, where you have done. For me, for example, I've done my need assessment in terms of in areas of infrastructure, education, health, sports, and all of that. And I think the greatest of the advantage for us in Lagos is that for all of the 20 local government and 37 LCDs were won by the All Progressive Party, and that itself shows a progressive continuity in all of our local government and LCDs.
Does your money come to you directly, frankly? Don't say because you're a member of the APC, you're trying to shield your party from the probing of the public. Does your money come to you directly the way it was released? Okay, you are not a local government. So it's your local government that will give money to you, which is Mushin local government, if I'm right.
Yes. So I've said that earlier. You know, when it comes to financial autonomy, and I've said Lagos has always practiced financial autonomy. You see, by the Constitution, it's a joint account between the local government and the states.
Okay.
You know, constitutionally. You know, and what we're passing through the Supreme Court and the financial autonomy coming direct is an amendment to the Constitution. You know, so Lagos is not doing anything different or illegal from the Constitution. You know, but it's just in the wisdom of Mr. President, and of course, you know, looking at the deficiencies of that mode of transmission of money from federal to state
accounts and local government.
You know, so deciding to just send it directly. So for Lagos, you know, we're not a victim of, you know, failing on their own part. You know, funds going through the states, you know, have always been delivered to all of the local governments and LCDs. And that is still what is obtainable to date.
So what justification do you have for the huge sum of money that some of you are receiving?
Well, I'm sure that that can be done, you know, by your own assessment, you know, to see the developments across Lagos. You know, I believe that in the past few days, we've seen all of the local government and LCDs celebrating all of their achievements, you know, within 1 year. You know, and I don't see any local government that have not that. We've seen huge developments in all areas, in education, you know, we've seen developments in health, we've seen developments in our road infrastructure, we've seen all forms and all canals bringing, new chairman bringing, continuing on all the built foundation and bringing new innovations into the system. And that is why today we see that Lagos is working.
Okay, so what have you done personally now at your own level to complement some of the themes plus agenda of Mr. Governor to indeed show that, we are getting huge sum of money and these are what we have achieved with the monies that we are receiving?
Yeah, for us in Odolo Ojui, where I'm the executive chairman, you know, during my electoral campaign, I did run my campaign on the mantra of EWA agenda, which, you know, where the H stands for health and environmental sustainability, E for education empowerment, W for works and infrastructure, A for agriculture, tourism and sports. And I can tell you that in 1 year, you know, we've satisfied all of these agendas. All of our campaign items have been totally fulfilled. You know, from health, you know, we've increased, just like we have promised during our election campaign, to improve the number of primary healthcare centers within our LCDs, you know, to ensure that every household, you know, have access, you know, to the accessibility to our PH centers, you know, is within reach. You know, we've increased it from our 6 PhD that we inherited to 7. We just completed 1. We're starting a new PHC, which is Anukulapo, you know, sometime next week. And for all of the other PHCs, within the past 1 year, we have ensured that all of the medical equipments there have been fully upgraded. You know, we just launched our EMR system, where we ensure that all of the data system for all of the patients within
let's just touch all the sectors, in bits and pieces because of our time.
Yes, for environment, you know, we have keyed into the state environmental sanitation program, you know, where I did set up a special environmental committee, which are saddled with that responsibility, of a 24 hours environmental cleansing of all of the environment within Odulo Oduwe. So not just doing the sanitation, but they operate daily, because we do have all of our compactor trucks, working, 24 hours around the clock, ensuring that all of the waste within our environment are evacuated, and of course, with collaboration and consistent engagement with all of the PSP operators and the LOMA, so that we can all work together and ensure that the environment remains clean. In the area of education, we had launched our back to school program, which with time was launched as a back to school program. It was a 2-in-1 program, back to school, back to pocket. The back to pocket aspect of it was the fact that this program was launched earlier than the school resumption day, so that most parents would not have expended on all of those school items, all of those school materials. And what we have done is to do our research to see what does every child need for the whole of the school year. So we have provided all of the needs, the school bag, we have provided them with all of the writing materials, all of the books, like looking at all of the subjects that they have to do for the whole year. So just to ensure that no parent will actually have to expend on anything for the child. And of course, we have also sustained, the free transportation, which we, of course, we inherited from our previous administration, to ensure that these buses continue to run and pick up all of these kids from the school back into school. And we've also complemented our education by introducing free food, where we term the Jako Jollof, which we give them free food every Friday, ensuring that, Friday being a day that's close to the weekend, where kids are sure not to show some resistance in attending school for that day. That day has turned back to be like a Monday, because that's the day they all look up to go back to school. So we give them free food, on all of those days on every Friday.
Okay, we have to manage our time very, very well.
And in the area of infrastructure, we have completed 18
Chama, you may
roads.
need to come on this program and come and pay for Odioluwo to be advertised. There are insinuations.
But that is just to complement, what you were saying.
The effort of Mr.
And I
Governor.
think that reflects in all of our local governments.
Okay.
For a local government to complete 18 roads, where we started within the first 1 year. We have 4 roads that are ongoing, and our intention is to complete 25 roads in a year. So we can look at that. You can look at the multiplying effect in all of the 57 local governments.
All right. So what kind of engagement do you normally have with your co-chairman at the level of Conference 57?
So at the level of Conference 57, which we try to hold meetings, at least once in a month, is for us to exchange ideas, and also to look at how, because you can see that most of our local governments and LCDAs have shared border areas together, so it's just very good. It just makes perfect sense that we kind of collaborate and work together, most especially in areas of security, in areas of environment. There's a plan for all of us now, to tackle all of the environmental nuisance in Lagos together, and of course we're able to look at our infrastructural policies, educational policies, to make sure that the whole of Lagos and Lagos states, all of our local government and LCDAs, are all working in sync, to ensure that we make a balance and complement the effort of Mr. Governor.
Okay, so I was going to ask you as well. We all know the trending news about the problem of insecurity in Nigeria, and you just mentioned the fact that local government chairmen are the chief security officer of their respective council areas. What's your own take on the creation of state police?
State police. Well, it's just, I believe it's also a step in the right direction. I believe that, you can only secure an environment that you are aware about, that you know about, right? Because security is not always about combat. Security is always about intelligence. It's more of intelligence.
And information.
And information. It's more of experience. So for state police, yes, which bring in the areas of communal police. So for instance, I think one of the fundamental barriers which that will also break and eliminate is the fact that every controller of security within the domain will be able to pass instructions, to the police forces, that work within that area. Because we've seen instances where state governors cannot actually give instruction out to the commissioner of police, and they said the instructions have to come from the IG.
Yeah.
So I think that will also eliminate all of those things and make security more efficient, more communal, and more effective.
Okay, are you hopeful that someday soon we might also have local government police? Is it an idea you would love to embrace?
I believe that with the creation, and I believe that we have not seen all of those items on the policy of the creation of the state police, but I want to believe sincerely that it should be accommodate all of those items to the very bottom.
So as we look forward to another year in office now, for the council chairman of Lagos State, what kind of support do you think your populace can give to you to make your job easier at the 57 local council area level?
Well, at this point, I think in my own LCD is just to show appreciation for their own understanding, for the support, because, for you to have good and sound development, you need the cooperation of the people. Within because like I always tell people that, the position that we do occupy, right, can only work, and succeed on it if you attend to the need of the people, and not the want of the people. Because the wants are different from the needs.
Sure.
So you must actually know what do they need within your constituency and ensure that those needs, are fulfilled.
Okay, that's a fine place to end the conversation this afternoon on the justification for local government financial autonomy. As, of course, we saw the breakdown of what the executive chairman of Odilowo Ojuwoye, Seyi Jakande, gave to us as to why local government must have direct access to their funds coming from the federal government to accelerate the quality of development at the grassroots level, which is the closest to the people. They are the ones in charge of primary healthcare center, primary schools, and of course, they are equally the chief security officers of their respective council areas in the country. We must thank you very much for finding time to be on the program.
Thank you for having me.
That's the program this afternoon. We thank you very much for watching. Do remember to join us 3 p.m. next Thursday for another interesting discussion on the Pendulum. I am Ajibola Ojoshola. Thanks for watching the show.